welcome back to the Poker Heaven Romanian Cup, where larger-than-life characters, unpredictable strategies and amazing skills have seen 12 players already book their seats at the semi-finals. Now, as we've seen, aggression is an important tool to any poker professional. To fire a second bullet or to concede control of the pot? That is the ultimate question. So let's take a closer look at the importance of position at the table. Position in poker refers to the order in which players are seated around the table. Players who act first are in first position, while players who act last are in late position. The dealer, the player who has the button, is in the best position, as he will have more information on players with which to make his decision. Also, as players fold their cards, the probability of your hand being the winning one increases. A player has position on any opponent if he gets to act later, and this is the foundation of all poker strategies. In early position, you should always play very tight, and only with premium hands like aces, kings, queens, jacks, tens, ace-king and ace-queen. There is no point in committing chips with so many players yet to act behind you. You can start to loosen up in middle position, playing a wider range of hands including suited connectors and small pocket pairs. In late position, you can limp in with pretty much any two cards, and if no one has entered the pot, you can always try a cheeky steal. Most blind stealing is done from late position. If you find yourself in the blinds, you will have the advantage of acting last pre-flop, but acting first after the flop. When considering what hole cards to play, please keep in mind your position relative to your opponents. If you have position after the flop, you can be more inclined to play the lesser cards. Position at the poker table is one of the most important aspects of the game. It is the basis of all poker strategies and must be understood in order to become a winning player. Whether friend or foe, when you take a seat at a poker table, neither matters. It's about winning every single pot that you play. This is the third and final heat, where 18 players are all looking to take those remaining 6 seats.
My friend tell me it's a hard table with a lot of good player, but never play with me, and they don't me.
Well, it's harder with your friends, because you don't really want to kick them out of the tournament, then you're going to have a headache after that. But yeah, when it comes down to the actual game, there's no friends, as you know, so everybody's on their own,
You could feel the excitement in the air as the remaining players eagerly took their seats as Heat 3 got underway. After waiting in the sidelines for the entire day, some could not subdue their impatience, willing to gamble their chips for a chance at the early pots. Before taking his seat at the table, Rayala Christian must have prayed for better fortunes than his fellow teammates. But early on, it seemed he was doomed to suffer the same fate, a mere spectator as others around him clashed over the growing pots. But he wasn't the only one to have encountered difficulties in the opening stages. After losing the majority of his chips across the table, Tudor Puris was left with little choice but to change gears, taking more risks and moving all in. Unfortunately, his luck was not to improve, and he became the first casualty of Heat 3.
King-queen offsuit was an unraised pot. I had to play. I had like less than a quarter of chips, so I had to go all in. Somebody paid me with ace-9, ace hit on the flop, and everything was over.
Over on table 2, a couple of Romania's up-and-coming players were about to clash, each willing to gamble on the strength of their own hole cards. But as the cards were turned over and with no ace on the board, the Kings proved to be victorious, leaving Dan Muariu clinging to nothing but a hope and a prayer. Poker is anything but merciful, relentlessly preying on the weak. Dan had to make a stand, and after a brave all-in was left with nothing but the memories of his short time at the table.
It's a very good tournament for Romania and for us, and I hope next year will be better for me.
The game can be cruel to many but a blessing to others. Dominated hands are saved by the river, whilst even Little Slick can bring down the Goliath that is the Big Slick. Heat 3 was proving to have everything: excitement, heartbreak and even 2 pairs of aces. As is the case with any poker game, the blinds will eventually claim its victims. Knowing this, Radu Stragaru found himself with the chance to take out another player and called the all-in with a mediocre 10-7. His opponent hit his set on the flop and was halfway to reclaiming his chips before the river delivered a flush, bringing his tournament to an end. With 4 people remaining at table 1 and with 3 of them all in, it was inevitable that someone's dreams of a seat to the semi-finals was about to end, and it was the unlucky hooks that were to pay the price. A king on the flop bringing a close to the table. The pressure was mounting over on table 2 as everyone wanted one of the 3 remaining tickets to the semi-finals. Some players began making rash all-ins with weak pocket pairs in the hope of a lucky double-up, but 2 overcards was more than enough to see off the pair of ducks. Out of the 4 players that remain, 2 seemed determined to either double up or go broke. Rayala Christian and Bogdan Ifram went head-to-head, both determined to knock one another out. In the end, experience was to prove key, and it was an easy call for Rayala after Bogdan went all in. His pair of ladies dominating the young Romanian's Queen 10. An empty board bringing an end to the heats, and the final 3 semi-finalists celebrated in style. The experienced Rayala Christian overcame a difficult start to finish comfortably at the top of table 1 with 8,300 chips. Whilst over on table 2, Radu Strugaru's early double-up helped him secure pole position with a total of 7,600 chips. Deception is a powerful weapon for any poker player. To mislead your opponent into thinking your hand is stronger than his is the greatest feat in poker. Let's take a closer look at the art of bluffing. Bluffing is a vital weapon in any poker player's arsenal. To exude an aura of strength and confidence is the ultimate deception. It is a vital skill that if mastered can win you many a stack, but if misused can cause you to exit the tournament early. There are 2 types of bluffs. The first is a semi-bluff. This is a bet made with a hand that is not the best hand at the moment, but if called has a reasonable chance of outdrawing other hands. A semi-bluff can only be made if there are more cards still to come. A player can win the pot in one of 2 ways, if all the players fold or if they catch one of their outs. Here is a hand from the British Poker Open. An unassuming flop gives Devilfish 2-pair and Mark Goodwin a gut shot straight draw.
Don't do it. All in.
20,000. All in.
Oh, that got ya.
Oh, really? I got a hand in.
Oh, don't you love it when it comes like
Can you
that?
put 20 in and see what the change is? I got a hand in.
Have you? Oh my God, you might call.
It's another 66, Dave. 86 in total.
By moving all in here, Mark makes Devilfish believe that he may have an overpair to the board.
No, what's making me fold is the fact that you said I've got a few chips I can play now, like you probably slow played a big pair on me there.
They're my big mouth.
After much deliberation, the Devilfish eventually folds. The second type is a pure bluff, also known as a stone cold bluff. It is a bet or a raise with an inferior hand that has little or no hope of improving. A player will make a pure bluff if he believes he can only win the pot if his opponent folds the winning hand. The most important rule to remember when making a bluff is this: it must tell a believable story. If a blank or irrelevant card falls on the river and you lead out with a big bet, people will be suspicious and it may stink of a bluff. Whereas if a card comes down that could complete a straight or a flush, you'll be able to make bets and your opponents will be more likely to give you credit for a big hand.
Tell you what, I think I can probably work this one out on my own. Okay?
By mastering bluffing, you will add an important dimension to your poker game. So the heats are over and the semi-finals are about to begin. 2 tables with 18 players all battling it out for one of the 10 seats at the final table. So this is how our final 18 look. On table 1, both Vanea Druta and Daniel Sandu have a lot of work to do if they want to reach the final table. And with the aggressive Mihai Radu breathing down their neck, they will need more than good cards. Table 2 sees Rayala Christian and Claudio Dumitrescu take the helm as short stacks Razvan Saib and Marianne Petra go in search of an early double-up. Radu, thanks for joining us. How are you feeling about today?
I'm feeling okay because my chips are okay. I have like 7,000 chips. I'm better than average, I think. And I think I have a pretty good chance to go to final table.
How are you going to play today?
Aggressive. because I play for game, not for money.
I think I'm gonna wait a couple of rounds and then I'm gonna push. I cannot wait forever on some good cards.
I don't want to play for place 9 or 8 because there are less money. I want 1, 2 or 3 place.
It's tough. There are many good players, and if I play my game, I think I can reach the money anyway.
Over the course of the next 3 hours, the 18 semi-finalists would be whittled down to the final 10. Some sat proudly behind their towering chip stacks, while others leaned forward, clutching on to what remained of their tournament life. Chip leader Radu Mihai picked up where he left off, determined and aggressive. Nothing seemed to trouble this youngster, who methodically and routinely calculated each decision before putting the pressure back on his opponents. That is not to say that he didn't have his share of luck. Across the tables, it seemed almost impossible to steal chips from some of the younger players. Not even a pair of rockets seemed to do the trick.
When you're all in with showdown, it's just luck. Thanks to Napoleon Casino and Poker Heaven, and maybe in the future will be more.
Everyone knew that finishing in 11th position was just as rewarding as finishing in 18th, so many decided to draw a line in the sand. The flop does not always favour the brave, and some players made their exit whilst others were left with dwindling stacks. All eyes were on the trophy as play began to settle into a rhythm. Big stacks forcefully bullying others off pots whenever possible, sometimes simply by reaching for more chips. You could sense that it was going to take a couple of big hole cards to sway the balance, and that is exactly what happened. After 2 players moved all in, seat 1 rightfully folded, allowing the pocket aces to go head-to-head with the pocket queens. Another low board causing celebrations from the gathering crowds. After thinking about his hand, Macedon Popescu decided to call an all-in with his flush draw. Unfortunately for him, that was not enough as his opponent held a higher flush draw. The turn brought a 7th spade and Macedon was drawing dead. Over on table 1, Constantine Cristea's early optimism seemed to have left him after Rayala Christian called his all-in with Big Slick. Constantine's hand was dominated and another low board meant it was a close to our charismatic friend's tournament. But as the blinds grew dearer, the short stacks were to suffer the fate of many before them and were forced to risk their tournament life. Some drowned whilst others were thrown a lifeline. This tournament seemed to have everything: excitement, upsets and drama. With only 12 people left in the tournament, seat 5 pushed all in with 7 jack off suit, only to be called by the chip leader with queen 10. 2 sevens on the flop brought cheers from the crowd. But as we have seen time and time before, everything can change on a turn of the card. A queen on the river was followed by sighs of disbelief as Radu Mihai added even more chips to his ever-growing stack. One by one they fell as the infamous title of Bubble Boy was about to be bestowed on someone. The bookies' favourite was Macedon Popescu, who was left holding 2 chips after being crushed by pocket queens. His hopes were revived after a fellow short stacks all-in was called yet again by Radu Mihai. Macedon's heart sank once more when the cards were turned over. Pocket aces against Radu's 7-6 off suit. He would need a miracle. But poker is anything but scripted, and a 7 on the flop and a 6 on the turn caused the crowds to cheer and jump for joy. After 15 hours of poker, they had reached the money and earned a seat at the final table alongside a relieved Macedon Popescu, who proudly held on to his pair of chips. And so here are our final 10. With only 200 chips, it'll be one of the greatest comebacks in sporting history if Macedon Popescu manages a top 3 finish. A task that seems unlikely looking at the other end of the table. Radu Strugaru sits in a comfortable 2nd position, while Mihai Radu towers over the rest of his opposition with over 33,000 chips. So after 15 hours, we have our final table of 10. Join us after the break when we're going to be finding out who's going to be crowned the Poker Heaven Romanian Cup champion.